riding horse, ward off. But what is ward off? Ward off is containing the front and opening the back. Feel that in each of the centers. It's most obvious in the arms. I'm containing the front heart and I'm allowing the back heart to expand outwards. So this very much has a boundary, and this doesn't. This is just reaching out into the universe. So the known and the unknowable. And then we feel it in each of the centers. A sense of gathering and containing here, but opening out from the Ming Men. The feeling that the Min Meng is trying to push backwards and it's expanding into the back and outwards. And then the same here, this feeling that the front brain is just gathering, it's containing itself, it's limiting itself, so that the back brain can just open out. It's a bit like the ego and the unconscious, in Freudian psychology, or what Castaneda called the known and the unknowable. So where the two meet, there's this zone called the unknown, and that's where we want to dwell. That's the place that's most healthy for the spirit. So this is, we want to just sink into it, is what John would say, sink into your energy. Contain the front and just allow the back to open out behind you. Knowing that it's connecting to what it needs to connect to, but you can't really retrieve that. You can't really bring that into the consciousness. You just have to trust and have faith. And now let's do a little bit of work on each of the front centers. By rolling, making a little ball. You visualize it as a three-dimensional yin-yang symbol just in front of your belly. Just as John used to say that the figure of eight is not really a figure of eight, it's more like an hourglass. It's a three-dimensional eight. The same with the yin-yang symbol. It's the yin-yang symbol on all planes. a real sense that you really are caressing and turning something. And it's affecting you, it's making you feel. Within the circle, within the sphere, there's a lot of activity, but it's very much contained. Then bringing it up to the heart. Feels quite different. The activity inside the sphere is wanting to make the sphere expand. So you're having to work to keep it contained. And just play with it. Let it get into the whole body. So you're turning a little bit. The two hands are doing opposite things. One's coming over the top as the other hand's going underneath. So that will always produce a turn, produce movements between the two sides of the body, sense of sinking in one side of the body and rising in the other side. And then bringing it up to the head point. Good. And then just back to riding horse. Feel those senses. Sense of movement. They're always moving. And now trying to stimulate the back of these points. So just turning and reaching a little bit behind yourself and just imagining that you're bringing some of that energy around to the front, not in order to know it, but in order to wrap it around yourself. This is the back heart. And then let's just move to the head, using the hands to help. The equivalent of the arms for the head point are like the jaw and the eyes. So you can sort of glance, you're looking around. So your eyes are sort of dipping back and pulling something around. Your hands are helping, but you'd like the hands not to really be necessary. So we're just opening up the back brain. That requires the front brain to close down or become contained inside its little sphere. So the heart and the head sense that the back of them is opening up and looking up, especially the head. So my back brain is trying to reach up, which tends to give the appearance that the front brain is dipping down. It's not really. It's just being contained, especially like in meditation. They say when you're meditating, your eyes should be focused on a point on the ground about 6 feet in front of you. And that's because the back brain is opening up, opening out and upwards. It's like the two sides of a cowl of a monk's hood. You're pulling one side around and then pulling the other side around. And then trying the Dan Chan. So this one opens outwards, but tends to dip down. This one's like trying to connect to the earth, going back, and the sense of this sort of loop going down the back of the leg. They're all figures of eights, really, figures of eights on the sort of horizontal plane, but this one's dipping down, and the other two tended to dip upwards. Opening up the back point and containing, closing the front. So the back of these points are soft and the front tends to be hard. So what you know is like there's like a certainty or definition to it, so there's a hardness to it. This is just pure swirling energy, so very soft. So we're wrapping ourselves up in swathes of softness. And then just bringing it back. The softness, the unknowable or the unknown, that's reality. There's something about when you know something, it stops being real. It becomes dismissible. It becomes unnecessary, unimportant. There's something vital and essential about what comes out of your back and surrounds you. So the imagination is more real than the actual. And now simply moving from leg to leg, a sense of full and empty, or rather filling and emptying. So this leg is filling and this leg is emptying. I want a mind that can sort of settle between the two activities and give each of them equal attention. We tend to be with the filling because that's where our weight and our body is moving towards. But I want to be with, if anything, more with the spirit, with the emptying. So the difference between the filling and the emptying is basically the difference, same as the difference between the front and the back. As I fill the leg, it becomes known, but it's very much contained in order to be able to stop. And the other leg is just opening out and emptying. And as the leg empties, I don't just feel it getting longer, I feel the joints loosening, especially the sacroiliac and the hip. And then they sort of tighten again to support me, and the ones the other side. So each leg is breathing. Breathing in to bring the weight into it, breathing out to let the weight flow out. And this is the human body. We have a left side and a right side. As one side is breathing in, the other side is breathing out. The energy is moving in the opposite direction to the body. So here the energy is coming up this filling leg and coming out of the emptying leg. So the energy is moving from this foot to this foot, but my body is moving the other way. We want to feel our adjectives as verbs. So the leg is filling, the leg is emptying. And to be really involved in that, to be really possessed by the verbs, is to feel. So I feel the filling, I feel the emptying. Part of my body becomes the filling, part of my body becomes the emptying. And I'm just maintaining equilibrium. I'm just trying to keep a balance between the two. Okay, so let's just bring it back to feel these rotating spheres. It's causing this to happen. There's always this, like a rocking between the two halves of the body. And now turning, straightening the leg, and then bending the leg, straightening the leg, and bending. Pulling and pushing with the leg. It's just two pistons, really, like a train, an old-fashioned train. You get these two piston actions that make this wheel go around like this. So it's the same thing here. One leg is straightening, the other one is containing, if you like, or trying to push back the other way, and then this, and it's producing a turn. And the important thing that we've found is to take it to its extreme. The extreme of straightness. It's so straight, the leg, that it's causing the spine to arch backwards. And then as the leg changes into a bend, it will sort of pull the head forwards. So there's like a whipping action in the spine. And then back to riding horse. That is translating the alternating straightening and bending of the legs into a turn. But it's basically being produced by the piston action of the two legs, so it's still quite mechanical. And that's what we're trying to get away from. So now let's try working the legs, but primarily the feet on the ground. I'm going to get a turn by twisting my foot. What I'm going to try and do is twist the foot out like this. But the foot isn't going to move because it's got some weight in it. So what that will do is force my waist to turn the opposite direction. I'm trying to twist the foot one way and it twists my waist around the other. And then I try and twist the toes around this way, and that will pull my waist round towards it. It's difficult because we're so used now to pulling and pushing with the legs. It's difficult to get it coming from anywhere else. I want to feel it coming from the action of the foot on the ground. The foot is trying to twist. Imagine you're on grass and you just want to ruin the grass with the twisting of your feet. It's like a screw that you're twisting into the ground. So mechanical movement just lacks spirit. And this is really activating the spirit. So you need spirit to get it working. And then getting it to work will also activate even more spirit. And let's try a bit with the other foot. So I twist the foot on the ground. It requires a lot of practice, this. And you really have to keep the concentration on it. The mind wanders, it will just become mechanical movement. And that's what we're trying to get away from. And again, it's front and back. So as I twist out and push myself around here, you get the feeling that everything is opening up. The front centers are spilling out. And then this is drawing them back in and getting the back to spread out. The important thing is to feel the action of the foot on the ground rather than simply the leg. My foot is trying to twist around this way. And then my foot is trying to twist this way. Just get it in the arm and then it will come into the leg in time. And you have to be able to just stay sunk. You know, when you're straightening the leg and twisting out with the foot, it will tend to bring you out of the leg. We have to stay in it. Sense that it's making you a little bit wild and crazy. There's that much spirit involved. And also another thing that's very important is that you try and keep the base of the spine open. You get a real sense here as I'm twisting the foot out and pushing myself around here, that here this is just streaming out of the base of the spine down the leg. Feel the tail. My tail is extruding out and becoming the leg. And that enables more fierceness to come out of my eyes and my head and my upper heart. So way. And then it all gets sucked back in. So it's really dramatic. You're twisting the foot to get the movement. It's a degree of activity higher than just straightening the leg. Okay. And now knocking the gates of life. Here you're straightening both legs and then bending them, straightening both legs to twist yourself to the side, bending both legs to pull yourself back to the front. The arms straighten as the legs straighten. The arms bend and strike as the legs bend. Imagine that person behind you with their hands on your shoulders, keeping you in the legs. So the twisting of the feet, it's important to stimulate the muscles to spiral. John was big on this. So what we're trying to do is use the muscles, not so much as a lever action, but we want to feel that the muscles are sort of wrapped around the bones. And when I squeeze one, it's like it squeezes the bone. We're massaging the bones all the time, especially in the legs. So by getting this action of the foot on the ground, twisting, I get this real sense that my musculature is spiraling. It's coiled up around the bones. And that enables there to be a sense of squeezing down the bone and then sucking back up the bone. That's what we call the correct tension. So that coil is tight and so very responsive. And in a sense, it just means you've always got energy at your disposal, this real speed. And just seeing that, you know, everything that we do, everything, every action of the body, every exercise requires sinking. If I'm not being driven into my legs, then whatever I do will tend to make me float. The cardinal sin of Tai Chi, it will disconnect me from the ground. I think that's what, you know, after these classes, everyone's just silent. We're all sort of this sort of sinking work, in a sense, it's sort of depressive. It just crushes all of that extraneous activity out of you. So you just learn to be incredibly efficient and just inner quiet. Like, you know, if you've ever done any physical laboring, you know, just worked your body incredibly hard through a whole day, then, you know, when you get home in the evening and you've had your evening meal, You're just there. That's when you experience real inner quiet. The mind is just being blasted by the physical work, by the energy that's just surging through the body as it's working hard. And of course, we don't really do that sort of work anymore. And so we never really experience inner quiet. You think, old farm labourers, navvies, the Irish navvies that built the canals in England, they would all have had intimate experience of a quiet mind. And so, in a sense, they would be more godly. They would be closer to the divine, because the divine reveals itself when you quieten the mind. The only time I experienced it really was when I was 16 and I worked for my grandfather, who was a landscape gardener. And we spent about a month turfing a golf course. So every day you're just bending down, picking up a couple of turfs, taking them over, laying them on the ground, spreading them out, going back. Remember the first day, the next day, I tried to get out of bed and I just couldn't move. And then, of course, you've got to then go back to work and do another day's work. Just training the mind in the right way. Complete opposite of schooling. Schooling is all about indoctrination. It's all about forcing the mind to fit a box. The opposite of free thinking. And now, just sinking into the leg, picking the foot up. And now I want to step out, but I want to just make sure that I put the foot down. See, I did it wrong then. This is so difficult. This is probably the most difficult thing I've ever discovered. So I've got to bring the foot up, send it out. Now I've got to get it to come down. See, then I did it wrong again. I fell into it. This is what's so difficult. It takes a few rounds. So I want to feel, as I send the foot out, it's sort of pushing me into this outside edge. And then I can just get down and, oh, there we go. And then I move into the foot. I don't want any sense of falling into the foot as I place it. I'm sending the foot out, and that is pushing me in this direction. I just have to keep sinking and moving in that direction until the foot is, oh, it's that wrong as well. There we go. So the lower I get, the closer I get to the ground, the more intense, the more alive, the more awake I become. It's like kissing someone. You know, your face moves towards theirs. You want that moment of contact to be an absolute explosion. And so you're sort of getting more and more expectant, more and more intense as the lips close in on each other. And then as they touch, really, you become a different person. This is the sense here. The foot goes out in order to kiss that piece of ground. I've got to really, and then I can slip into it. And we're just really stretching that point, you know, slowing time down, which means the legs really hurt. But I'm just looking at it. I'm just trying to, what happened? This is really important. You judge the importance of something by just how awful it makes you feel afterwards. So when we first started doing this a couple of weeks ago, I didn't want to face the world the day after. And it's still, I can still feel the effect of it in my body. I mean, what's difficult about it really is that in order to extend the foot and get it to go down in the right way, something here has to open up. And that's what's difficult. Because this is the leg that's supporting me. So I think I have to hold on with it. And actually, what you have to do is just open it up so that it's the connection with the ground, it's the supply of energy that actually holds you up, not the strength in the leg. Okay. Let's just try a little bit of this one. So now just loosening the legs really, because you know when we work them hard, they tend to seize up a little bit. Just getting these flows of energy through the body. The best word to describe this sort of activity is gay, not necessarily homosexual, but maybe that, just full of light joy, a lightness, a playful lightness that's making the body gyrate. So things are rising, things are sinking. As one side rises, the other side sinks. There's this endless play. just the figure of eight exercise. Threatening to get out of control all the time. And then just let it subside. A sense that it never stops. It just reduces and reduces. It's always there. And now let's just try these centers again. Only instead of rotating the sphere, just think of the little figure of eight. It's like you're tracing just one figure of eight, but with both hands. So as one hand comes over the top, the other hand is slipping underneath it. You know, whenever you figure of eight, there's always this sense of gyrating a little bit, tipping side to side, turning left and right. And try and get some of it down into the feet. So you've got the feet twisting on the ground again to generate this movement. So we're just figure of eighting inside the belly, inside the down chin. Think of your middle finger. The middle finger is the dominant finger in the hand. It's the pivot, if you like, when the hand turns about itself. But all of the fingers are figure of eighting, and they're all slightly out of phase. So there's at least 10 figures of eights going on here. And then let it slip up to the heart. And then up to the head. Tip of the tongue pushing up onto the very roof of the mouth, trying to extend into the hypothalamus gland. So your mind is sort of between the front brain and the back brain. That gland is responsible for internal equilibrium, your various processes. So it's important for Tai Chi. Front brain is contained, it's active, but it's contained. The back brain is just opening out and reaching up into the cosmos. And then just riding once again. And now let's just try rolling the ball here. Again, just visualizing it as a yin-yang symbol. The heart is at the top of this ball and the Dan Chen is at the bottom of it. So the yin and the yang, the black and the white, are just the two sides of your body, left and right, interacting and coiling around each other and reversing. Again, it's coming from the legs, particularly the feet twisting on the ground. They'll always produce a turn, and it doesn't really matter which way it turns. You can be turning this way, or you can be turning the other way. And so it can either be waving hands in the clouds way or roll back way. So I can be turning this way, or I can be turning this way. Something from the belly is rising up to the heart at the same time that something of the heart is dipping back down into the belly. These two centers are always talking, always exchanging. And now let's just finish. Just a little bit of this, just to make sure it stays active. It never freezes.